My name is Andrew Epstein. I'm an undergraduate, but I'm not really speaking in any capacity here other than to bring some things to the table that aren't necessarily talked about, but which are shared among many of the undergraduates. And I just want to start with an anecdote, and it goes to what Wazir was saying about the Walmart model. And I was just returning from the restroom, and I walked past a group of tall, well-dressed, brusque-looking men, and they were walking out with their briefcases, and I recognized one of them, and one of them was the chief lawyer for Mark Newman. And if some of you aren't familiar, Mark Newman is a very powerful developer around here who is responsible for most of the corporate development. And then I was contrasting that to when I first walked in this university door, in this new facility, and needed a university ID to get in. Now, I don't think that this lawyer is involved with the university, but I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have a university ID. So it comes down to a question of access. And this is just part and parcel of a larger trend of this university, where access is given to people already enfranchised, people already controlling the powers of the society, and not to serve the general public, which is what a public university is indeed supposed to do. And a lot of people in this panel have done a lot of deep thinking on ethics, and I honestly haven't. But I do think that they have something to do with justice, and I do think that we cannot even approach an answer of what an ethical person could do until we live in a more ethical society, which is to say until we live in a more just society. And there are tremendous contradictions, and there's tremendous injustices both on this university campus and in the nation at large. And just some of these things which become most apparent is when you compare the number of students, particularly students of color in the state, in prisons versus in state schools. And just to read a few statistics, for instance, New York Public Universities have seen their operating budgets plummet 29% since 1988, but prison funding from the state has gone up 76%. There are now more blacks and Hispanics locked up in prison than there are attending SUNY. And one quote here from the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice says that the differing futures for youth heading upstate, for white youth, going upstate probably means attending one of the dozen good SUNY schools in the region. For black and Hispanic youth, the term more likely refers to a trip to one of the state's shiny new prisons. And I can't help but look at this building and so much of what the university is doing as building a new shiny prison. Of course, it's the prison of the university, and it's got caught up in privilege and it's caught up in power. And until we start addressing these fundamental issues of our university and of our country at large, we are not even going to be able to approach what I could even consider to be an ethical answer. And we're seeing this time and time again, and there are even more examples of this. And one thing that popped in my head recently was the University Police Department recently arming themselves with tasers. Amnesty International, as many other human rights organizations, have condemned the use of tasers. And just yesterday, an immigrant was killed in Canada. He was waiting to meet his mother. He was a Polish immigrant, and he was tased to death in a Canada airport. Nevertheless, the university, without consent, without discussion with anybody else, seemingly in a unilateral decision, armed the UPD with tasers. Where are the ethics there? Where's the justice there? And I think a lot of the things have been said that I wanted to bring to the table by Wazir. But I guess I just want to say that just to offer a couple things from my experience, I work with some organizations on campus. One of them is the Student Action Collective. And we try to operate on a collective, non-hierarchical basis. And I think when you start doing that, and when you start withdrawing your consent from the hierarchies of this society and this campus, you can start achieving an ethical answer which takes into account the humanity of each person. And I think one of the essential ways to do that is to organize horizontally, to organize on a collective basis, on a basis of mutual aid. So that's just the things I would say. I'd say that in order to begin to reach consent, we need to change this university. To change ethics, we need to change this university and this nation at large. We need to withdraw our consent from arbitrary power, and we need to organize horizontally, and we need to organize for justice. And one of my favorite quotes is by Derek Jensen, and it says, "As soon as we come to see that the edicts of those in power are no more than the edicts of those in power, that they carry no inherent moral or ethical weight, we become the free human beings we were born to be, capable of saying yes and capable of saying no." And that's the only thing I wanted to add to this debate, which is that you can't have ethics without justice. And there are avenues for this justice. We need to participate in them, we need to withdraw our consent, and we need to organize for them. Thanks.